making a video about the triad related to homelessness that is used to disenfranchise people. No, that's not a. Look at that. I was strangled or something. It's not just a homemade scapular. But I want to discuss how now this is between MDHHS, MISHTA, and the housing agencies. Now, if you're, a targeted individual, or you, for example, you're a veteran and you go to the VA and deal mostly with one medical group, and they're not really helpful, MISHTA and the housing agencies, they will point the finger, actually, and MDHHS too, they'll point the finger at you and say, oh, you must be able to work. Doesn't matter how much evidence you give them that you have a really bad medical situation, they'll say, well, you can't put a doctor's signature on it, that it doesn't mean anything to us. And MDHHS, or not MDHHS, I mean, MDHHS and MISHTA and the housing agencies, they will disenfranchise you. They will hold it against you. For example, saying, oh, you can't be a part of the family self-sufficiency program and escrow the rent money you have to pay, even if your landlord raised the rent. And you have no fault here, except that you're not working. So they'll say, well, I guess the rent money is going directly to the landlord. You're not working. And then you'll say, well, what about my disability? My status says somebody with disability. They'll say, oh, you're not, because you can't get a doctor to sign anything. And then you'll repeat back to them the ADA only requires that for accommodation. They'll ignore you. And so will MDHHS. This is another example of how various agencies work back and forth amongst themselves to disenfranchise people. Now, is this happening all over? I don't know. You folks would know better than me. Well, obviously, one place is not. One subscriber is from the UK. So it's not relevant, with us in the States. But it sounds like there's some stuff, going on there too to disenfranchise people. But, we're focusing on what's going on in the States. But this is, how a triad works. To the rent monies you're paying are going in somebody else's pocket. You're not being allowed to invest in your family. You're not being allowed to use ADA to protect your family, because they're saying you don't qualify. Because I've even seen some paperwork from some housing agencies who claim that they're giving you paperwork from MISHTA because it's got the MISHTA letterhead on it, the MISHTA, blocked out. But they misquote ADA and they cut sections out of it. So I doubt if it's really even from MISHTA, because I don't think MISHTA would want that for people to use their documents, and ADA is either misquoted or entire passages are deleted out of it. But anyway, like I said before, you don't have to have a letter from your doctor saying you're disabled. All you have to do is show proof of a disability, or one that you had in the past that continues to hinder your life, various life capacities at one point or another. This could be you broke both legs and it healed, but you have bursitis, or you have pins and needles, actually be pins and rods, or you, let's say you had a concussive injury, which would apply to a lot of vets. You had a concussive injury, but you healed it, but there is damage, those kind of things. Or you're in Vietnam, or you got an IED, took part of your limbs, and you had to work through that anger and the pain, and so it affected you emotionally. At the same time, you're trying to learn how to adapt with two prostheses, and but a doctor won't put anything on paper because it's common sense. Just look at what you came through. Look at what you're doing. Um, and so a doctor may not initially write a letter because they're like, it's common sense, which this is also stated in ADA. If you read, I think it's down towards the end of the legislation, it does say that some disabilities are just common sense. In so many words, I've read the legislation. Um, but they'll try to disenfranchise you because you can't get a doctor's letter. And also, this is used against you because you can't get disabilities. You can't get anything through the VA. Everything has to be tested and diagnosed, and then tested again by a third party. Sometimes by a fourth party if you have to litigate. This is the kind of things that they're doing to you folks. And how do you work through it? I don't know. They continually do things to your family. And you notice when you try to go above them or to get other people involved, they'll block you. That's why when I say I'm not, the world is not against me, people will say that to gaslight you. Gaslighters are common people who like to make statements like that to diminish you. That's what I call it. Living in the Philippines as long as I did, that's just, I don't know, that's what we say there. Diminish you, make you unimportant, make you unempowered, make you a joke. But they'll gaslight you and gaslight you and gaslight you and make statements like that. But since you don't work, you can't escrow your money in the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which invests in your family. It's your money investing in your family because you have to pay the rent, because you have to work to be a part of the program. What about if you're disabled? Well, according to the FSS program, if you're on disability, from what I've read, or you're self-employed, So what is this? Somebody who is somebody who actively mows lawns, or an active prostitute, or somebody that actively collects bottles can go into self-sufficiency easier than my family can? Just because I can't get a doctor to sign a piece of paper? But they have every single medical diagnosis, every single blood test, every single radiological imaging, everything, even some of the care notes. But we don't qualify as disabled for these people or for MDHHS. My worker now at MDHHS is ignoring me because I asked to go down to 15 hours because we have so much other stuff to do. He said, well, I don't know about a blank check. I didn't ask for a blank check. I understand that the program has hours, but the case managers and case workers, they have the discretion to certify a case, along with somebody's complications, like, oh, the guy can't get a doctor to sign anything. They have a copy of a doctor saying, I'm not signing anything. So they have an actual copy of a doctor that says, I'm not signing anything. Tell him to go to the VA and ask for a signature. He knows people from his office who work at the VA. So the question remains, will they do that? To sign anything for MDHHS, a medical provider must have a Medicaid authorization number. It's required. Doesn't matter if they're a social worker, physician, nurse practitioner, PA, they have to have a Medicaid authorization number. It says right on most of their stuff. Their medical needs form, their medical exam, all of that stuff. It says it right in the bottom of the form. So this is a way that you will get disenfranchised, folks, seriously disenfranchised. And yeah, from what I've seen with Saginaw Saginaw Housing Commission and Becca Management, the Becca Management in Saginaw in Lansing, um, yeah, I've seen some real disenfranchising, and with some of these places, I've seen some real gaslighting, real abuse of families. And when you bring up that the amounts don't make sense, you'll be said something like, "Hey, why are you complaining? Why are you going to make trouble? Your rent is getting paid." The object is not to get a freebie. The object is for a family to get on their feet. The object is not to get a freebie. It's for your family to get on your feet. But when you have so many agencies and so many people that are disenfranchising you or just saying, "I don't care, whatever," it keeps a family from getting on their feet. That's why I call this financial captivity. That's what exactly it is.